Hello, and welcome to another episode of Meditation Coach Leo's channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do so by subscribing. It does something to the platform's algorithm, and it'll start linking you to various contents that's similar to the one that you're viewing right now. Of course, if that interests you. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how you want to plan spending your energy as we have just entered the New Year's. Believe it or not, our body, we're a human being is a living organism, right? And every living organism on this planet, within it carries its own currency that we use as an energy source, and it's called ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So what is this ATP? I have mentioned about this ATP in some of my previous videos, but what it does is each time you consume a meal, whether it's carb, protein, or fat, as we know clearly, our digestive system breaks down its food content and it turns it into ATP basically, and it sends it to each and every cells in our body. So that's how we grow, that's how we heal, and that's how we function as a living organism. But we have to keep in mind that we have this limited amount of ATP. We can compare this to perhaps accounts, our bank accounts. There's a limited amount of balance that's sitting in our bank account, and we can't just start spending our debit cards purchasing all the items that we wish to buy. Of course, that depends on the individual. It's going to run out. So it's the same concept. This ATP, which is our physical ATP energy source, it runs out. So each time you think or you exercise or you use your physical body, as well as when you're thinking or when you're even feeling certain type of emotions, we use ATP. What I want to emphasize here is how does our body use our ATP source when we trigger our stress response? What happens when our body goes into a survival mode, when our stress response gets activated? Well, it uses up a whole lot of ATP because when you're in a fight or flight mode, the body starts sending the blood over to your extremities because you have to either fight or flight. Even though that may be caused by a mental or psychological aspect of it. For example, let's say you got into an argument with your coworker or with your family member or what have you. Different settings triggers the same type of stress response, and that can be physical, chemical, and emotional. Every time that happens, the body requires extreme amount of energy source, which is your ATP. So when this happens, the ATP can't not be going to the areas, for example, to your immune system, for example. Because believe it or not, within your body, inside your body, cells are always working to heal itself, reproduce itself, get rid of inflammation, infections, fight off bacteria and other microbial germs or whatever. This just can't happen naturally. The ATP has to be utilized. So if you're constantly worried about something, perhaps anxious about the unknown future, or if you're always miserable or depressed about what you've done in the past, believe it or not, you're using up your ATP. And those each and every ATP counts, and they're very important because it helps you to heal, it helps you to think, perhaps productive and rosy future, and all of those things, but it runs out. So the point here is that limited amount of ATP, and you have to be careful and selective about how you want to go about your day to use up your energy. In a general sense, we get stressed when we resist. What I mean by that, I can give you an example. Let's say that you're having a bad day because you got into an argument, or you're having a bad day at a job because the project that you've been working on is not really going the way that you wish to. What happens? Naturally, we start to resist that circumstance or that situation. And we can even see little children going through the same kind of behavior mode. For example, let's say a child goes into a toy store with a parent, with his or her parents, and let's say the child grabs a toy from a shelf and he or she wants to buy it. Mom and dad decides it's not for him or her. What does the kid do? The kid starts to become very emotional, and the child, it triggers a stress response, and they begin to cry out loud. What the child is doing is it's resisting the situation. So even the child is in a fight or flight mode, perhaps not only with the situation, but with his or her parents, right? I want to introduce you to a very interesting, perhaps, formula or a principle. It's called path of the least resistance. Now, the universe works in a way where it favors the path to the least resistance. For example, if you're trying to swim up the river where the stream is actually flowing downwards, what happens to your body? You tire out because you are resisting the current, right? Same thing. You move with the flow. You have to move with the flow, with the nature, how things unfold in life day by day. You may not like it. You may like it. It depends on the situation. But you always, if you're wise enough, you want to go with the flow so that you don't waste and deplete your limited energy source, which is your ATP. Always when you're in a situation when you are conscious enough to choose your path, try to choose the path of least resistance. And the way you can do this is like this. I think I heard this from Jim Carrey, the famous, the actor, right? The Hollywood actor. And he says that, human beings, generally speaking, they get motivated from two kind of like emotional hemisphere. One is from love and the other one is from fear. So when you are motivated by fear, obviously you are stressed out and you're using a lot of ATP, you're depleting your energy source. On the other hand, if you're motivated, inspired from the love corner, obviously you use less of that valuable ATP source. And it's good for your own well-being, not only you'll be healthier and you'll be secreting more of a healthier hormones because you're not releasing stress hormones in the beginning to begin with. And I believe that is the path of least resistance when you are inspired from a love source, okay? So that's all I have for you today. I hope you like this content. Please hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you next time in the next video. Take care.